Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. About 8 topics for this video. Some from the United States of America, some from Ukraine, some from Russia, some from Israel, some from Iran. But before I start discussing the topics, I will give you a few pieces of news. First one, if you go back if you go in this video's description box below, you're going to find a kind of a chronology of the topics I'm discussing. So you're going to find the titles of the articles, not the links to the articles, just the titles. So you can see and pick whatever topic if you don't want to watch all this, the entire video, you know where to go about and find the topic. That's the first one. Second one, I decided to conduct or to make another live stream video. So in the coming days, I will think of a exact date and find the right time. So I want to make sure that the guys in Australia or in the Far East, Malaysia and Japan and South Korea and others could be at the same time as the guys from the American continents and the European continent as well. So I'm trying to find out an hour that I can find you awake. And I will try to answer as many questions as I could during that event. And my secretaries currently are in Hawaii. They're having fun. Jesus Christ, now they think that if they're millionaires, they can do whatever they want. But hey, that's if you pay them too much, that's what's going to happen. Anyway, so no, I'm just kidding, but not. I will see if I could answer how I'm going to answer all your questions while I'm going to conduct that live stream event. Probably I'm going to have one of my secretaries still around and on call, helping me with answering some of your questions. The live stream could be endless, so I don't have like 2 hours, 1 hour, 5 hours. Whenever I get tired and I'm like, oh, will I turn it into Romanian, then we're gonna stop. That are the two related to this channel. The other one is I'm going to travel to Toronto, Canada, and I'm going to be there for almost about a week. That's a plan. Some business trip, some family, friends, and so on. So maybe if you want to punch me in the face over there, you can. We can arrange that, and we can meet in Toronto. All right, just kidding. Well, so those will be the 3 pieces of information. Now let's go to this video. The first topic: the Russians' overnight massive, only drone attack on Ukraine. About 100 drones. And we're going to show you what targets were hit, or at least were targeted, what targets were targeted. That's the first one. The other one is the Russians will tell us how many drones the Ukrainians sent as a gift to the Russians in the same time. So it's not like the other one in the Middle East where I shoot, wait, and then the other guys after 2 weeks, they shoot, I wait, and so on. That's something else over there. Then we find out that actually the Ukrainians launched more than the first article I'm going to use here, which is about 21 drones. That the Russians also launched more than 100, as the Ukrainians claimed. I will show you. The Russians liberated or took over some villages in Donetsk People's Republic, or in Donetsk Oblast, moving really, really fast to the west. And they're around Donetsk, around Pokrovsk, and if you remember, Artemovsk or Bakhmut, those in that area. They also, it seems like they took over Chasiv Yar. They captured Hirnyk, captured Selydove. They're moving in an accelerated manner towards the west. Next one, we have the Chasiv Yar. Then we find out that the Ukrainians, or the West, how you want to call it, because it's not the Ukrainians are the finger, and everything else is the West. And the finger, you can do a lot of things with this finger. All right, so they find out that the West attacked or invaded Ukraine in a different spot. You remember they were successful in invading Russia in Kursk Oblast. Now they tried another incursion, another attack, another offensive. The Russians claim that they smacked them back. But interestingly enough, these guys again tried to penetrate Russia. Putin again tells these baboons in charge of us, don't do it. This is what I will do if you do that. This is going to be a consequence. Now, crazy as it might sound, if you do that, this is what my response will be. And that is not good. So Putin again warns the baboons here, don't do it. What I'm talking about, strikes deep inside Russia with the American weapons or the Western weapons, and obviously with the logistics, and operated by the Westerners, not by the Ukrainians. Probably Putin got some wind of what's going on and how these guys are trying to circumvent this with euphemisms and so on, telling us that it's going to be the Ukrainians using their domestically produced drones, long-distance, long-range drones that are going to be used, and the Americans have nothing to do with it. I don't believe that squat. I mean, it is probably like this out of this, that the Ukrainian domestically built drones are going to hit targets precisely 900 miles with the inside Russia without the American military satellites. All right, let's move on. Elon Musk. Remember Elon Musk? Okay, so he showed up on the on stage on the Madison Square Garden in New York City, and that was probably Trump's wrap-up rally for his campaign. And Elon Musk, if you remember, if you don't, I tell you right now, he wants, if Trump wins, he wants to have a Department of Efficiency, which is going to look over the government's spending. And he says that he can cut the US budget with $2 trillion. Well, thing is nice, but what are going to be the consequences for you and I? Because I can cut a lot of shit over there, but then you're going to be back in the caves. I won't. I will be in charge of you, defending you, protecting you, and making sure the government doesn't spend too much for you. But for me, hey, you have to respect the office of the president. I can't be a president because I was born on the moon. Now we find out that the Ukrainians are doing the same thing as the British crown or the English crown did, what was it, in the 18th century and 17th century? It was about that time when the Queen of England, not the King of England, because, you know, when these guys are talking about patriarchy, they forget that the biggest empire on this planet, if I remember correctly, was the British Empire, and it was led by a woman. So all those crimes that Britannia did were committed by a woman in love. Okay, so that's okay. Always use that as an argument, because they all name all these criminals, which some of them were criminals, but they forget about, I know, Maria Teresa, Báthory, Babi Bibu. No, they zip it. The same here with the Queen. So if you remember that time, they had the Corsairs, the pirates, and the pirates over there in the Caribbean, another movie, right, which was a great funny movie. They were stealing whomever they were attacking. And at one point, these pirates came to the Queen of England and said, we are going to attack the stolen gold from South America by the Spaniards. We're going to steal it from the thieves. So we're going to be thieves ourselves. And we're going to give it to you. So you're going to become a thief. So we are the outlaws, the pirates, going to attack the Spanish galleons, I think they were called, getting gold from South America, remember? And we're going to take that, we're going to keep some for us, we're going to give it to you, and you're going to ennoble us, we're going to knight us, and become the new sirs, right? Like Sir Elton John, and any of these guys, Paul McCartney and Tom Jones, and all these are sirs now. And anyway, not now. That's fine. I mean, why do I care? Obviously, I care if I talk about it, right? No, I'm just informing you. So the same thing these guys are doing in Ukraine right now. So the criminal gangs used to be the pirates. Now it's criminal gangs in Ukraine work or support the government, the Ukrainian government, at war effort against Russia, and they target the Russian people, Putin's people, as I said, Putin's people, the Russian people. And when I read this, I just skimmed through the article. I said at one point, this article must be written by a certain kind of person. So I scrolled back up a little, and indeed it was the person I thought it would be. But hey, I had 50% chances to, and I'm going to explain to you why these guys are glorifying the outlaws, and that has to do with orgasm during rape. All right, let's move on. Next one, we find out that Netanyahu's strike on Iran was very calculated, and the Iranians soiled their pants, and not Pence, that imbecile vice president. Nevertheless, I can't remember his name. Mike Pence? Yeah, Jesus Christ, that was a baboon. Pence the dance. That's how I called him. Pence the dance. He was like a hitman behind Trump all the time. Now, okay, Brutus, now it's my turn. All right, so let's move to the beginning and find out what happened in detail. Start with the first article. Coming from Ukrinform. Let me put my goggles. Defense forces down 66 enemy UAVs in 13 regions across Ukraine. 66. 66 is the number of the beast. Remember that Iron Maiden song? Old people, remember that? All right. So, and here is the evidence. This is the evidence right there. There you can count them. That's the evidence. They shot them all down. And this, when I see this kind of garbage, visual representation of their reality, not the reality, their reality, I can't help every time thinking of poor little General Colin Powell, who was pushed at the United Nations, and he agreed. He could have said, no, I don't follow this order, and I am just, as they asked the Nazis to do, don't follow the orders, but he did. Remember, they say, you could have said, I don't follow the orders, because they say, well, it was an order, I had to obey. Yeah, but you could have disobeyed if you had moral and conscious questions and so on. So could many people in our side. In this case, Colin Powell. All people like me and older, they remember when he showed up, they tried to frame Saddam Hussein, weapons of mass destruction, and he's got those chemical laboratories that he's ready to unleash over the whole planet, and he's a bad dude. We need to stop the imminent threat attack on us. Remember? And danger. And my God, it was such a... but that was good. If you want to study how things really are, you don't have to study only Trump's presidency. You go, then you find out how the media cooperated with these guys not in charge of us, seemingly in charge of us, to sell us a narrative. Nobody knew why they attacked us. And at one point they said they attack us because they hate our freedoms. Really, not because we're over there, right? Right. All right, doing what over there? Helping democracy, the only ally over there, and that's another narrative that you have to like that. So if you remember Colin Powell, general, who was admired at that time, he was revered at that time, not because of the color of the cock, no. And then he showed up with some prepared by other fuckers, some hand drones, whatever, drawings showing the Saddam Hussein alleged that they never found mobile chemical laboratories all around Iraq. And he over there was like, and here they are, yes, general right here, baby doll. And all was over there, the audience in the United Nations Security Council were like, hey, is this how low the Americans got there? And the other guy was like, yep. Well, bad things will happen to all of us. Tell me about it. We are in the midst of it. That's exactly how it is. And the Americans said, yes, that's the evidence. So when I see this garbage right here, that's what I'm talking about. I know this is just a representation. And I just said that's the way I think. All right, so as of 10:30 a.m., 66 enemy UAVs have been confirmed down in, I'm going to find out where. Sumy, Chernihiv, Poltava, Kiev, Zhytomyr, Rivne, Khmelnytsky, Ternopil, Mykolaiv, Dnipropetrovsk, Kirovohrad, and Cherkasy regions. Most of the enemy UAVs were shot down in Kiev, Cherkasy, and Khmelnytsky regions. Where are those? Let me show you. I hope this is right. I wanted to know I was here. This is Pokrovsk. So this is the map of Ukrainska, right? So everything but the Polish side of Ukraine. Why do I call this Polish side of Ukraine? Because Poland will take this. Probably Hungary from here will take their Zakarpattia, but the baboons here in Romania will not take their big chunks. Why? Because I just call them in a certain way. I think it fits the behavior. I'm talking about the leadership and the guys who voted for them and support the leadership. And so the Russians struck all of this but Odessa Oblast. I didn't hear anything about Odessa. Mykolaiv, Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv, Kharkov, Sumy, Chernigov, Kiev, Cherkasy, Poltava, all these kind of things, until Khmelnytsky, they stopped here. Is it because this controlled war that occurs right now in Ukraine is a little understanding between NATO and Russia that NATO will not, which is Poland, will not defend itself. The incoming missiles that are supposed to hit Ukraine, they will not hit them over the Ukrainian territory if the Russians don't exaggerate. The Russians will hit Lviv and others from time to time, but not like this, because by observation and by making a pattern, I think the past maybe 7 times when I was reporting this kind of missile and drones attack on Ukraine, I couldn't fear Lutsk. I didn't see Lutsk, Lviv, Ivano-Frankovsk, and no. So it seems like they are not hitting that far. And is it because NATO told them don't do it because we're gonna actually implement a no-flight zone over that part? I don't know. We're gonna find out. So that is the first article, but let's see what else these guys are telling us. In the same article, another 24 drones, Russian drones, disappeared from radars, while 4 others headed towards Russia and Belarus. So what? 66 with 24 is what? 90, right? 90 drones, but then we find out that unfortunately there have been several UAVs hitting civilian infrastructure in Ukraine. All right, and it says, as noted on the night of 28th of October, that last night, the enemy launched 100 Shahed-type drones attack UAVs and unidentified drones from Russia's Kursk, Oriol, or Orel, Primorsko, Akhtarsk. Where are those? So they launched them from Kursk, right here, from Oriol, and Primorsko, Akhtarsk is across from the Sea of Azov, or straight where my strong hand is, in this little peninsula, how you want to call it, exactly here. This is where the drones came from. Next article, this comes from the Russians, from the Sputnik. Russian air defense systems shot down 21 Ukrainian drones overnight. So you see, this is not like ping pong in the Middle East. Israel strikes, Iran just blocks, stays like this. Are you done? Okay, we're done. Wait a little bit, and then we're gonna spit on you a little bit, and then you put your umbrella for a little bit, and then no, it's like this. It's not like ping pong. You can't play the ball in the same time. You just ping, and the other guy pong, and then you got him ping, and then you got him pong. You don't like the ball is here and both of us. No, it's not like that. But the war is like that. Look what's going on in Ukraine. When the Russians launch, these guys launch at the same time. But that's why what's going on in the Middle East. Yeah. We don't want to escalate. What are you talking about? You don't want to escalate. People are dying over there. Dozens, hundreds, thousands. We don't want to escalate. Why? Because some baboons over there can destroy millions. So let's see what these guys are saying about this not ping pong game. Russian air defense systems on duty destroyed and intercepted 21 Ukrainian drones last night, 13 of which were over Belgorod, 6 over Bryansk, and 1 each over Voronezh and Kursk regions. So he's talking about mostly were launched on Bryansk, Belgorod, then you have Kursk and Oriol. I wonder if these drones were meant to go to Moscow. But I don't know if they were launched to go that far. Next one. Let's see what the Russians report about that attack. In the meantime, Russian forces liberate Tsukurino. Hey, Tsukurino. Italy? All right. Capri. Disrupt key Ukrainian logistic route in Donetsk. So where is Tsukurino? Let me show you where Tsukurino is. Right here is Tsukurino. Tsukurino is northwest of Hirnik, which is just liberated. I'm going to show, I have the article on that one. And it's south of Selydove, right here, that the Russians also took over. I'm going to show you a clearer map. And we have Pokrovsk, right here, Rus-Ukr Yar, whatever that is, we're going to get to that one further. And we have Pokrovsk, which is right here. This is the Pokrovsk. So we are here, and I'm going to show you a better map. We're going to go to Moscow. No, we're going to go to Donetsk. I like this one because it's a clear-cut map. So this is Donetsk area. I'm going to show you the Pokrovsk area, and they are talking about, remember, Selydove. This is, the Russians call it not Pokrovsk, they call it Krasnoarmeysk. So this is the area that this guy said, yeah, we are on it. And look what's going on here. Does it look good for the Ukrainians? Or we can go to this little better map, and we have here Tsukurino right there. That's the big town of Tsukurino. Tsukurino, Pokrovsk is right here. And this is the big, it's going to be a pinching move. So that's the first one. But in this article, we find more about how many drones were launched, dealing with the first topic of this video. According to Russian Ministry of Defense, Russian forces targeted Ukrainian military airfields and successfully shot down 120 drones within a single day. 120. What they say over here? 21 drones. And this guy said, shot down 120. This assault caused damage to infrastructure and affected troops concentrations in 142 locations. Now, if there are 142 locations, that means that could be about 142 drones launched, right? Unless I hit one thing and that has consequences on 50,000 other things, which possible. Moscow's forces have taken control of the settlement of Tsukurino in the Donetsk People's Republic, and Ministry of Defense reported. Units of Battle Group Center liberated the settlement of Tsukurino as a result of active and decisive actions. Ura! And additionally, these guys did a lot of other things. My problem here was this: Russian forces, not my problem, but I was focused not on how many these guys claim they destroyed. These are details. I let others deal with them. Russian forces also targeted the infrastructure of Ukrainian military airfields and downed 120 drones within a day, according to Russia's Ministry of Defense. Strikes were carried out using tactical aviation, combat drones, missile forces, and artillery, damaging military airfield infrastructure and concentrations of Ukrainian troops and equipment in 142 areas, the ministry reported. I like macro things, but in order to understand the macro things, you have to go to micro things. But if you get stuck in micro things, you don't see the macro move. So I read the micro when I like the mic, and I go to macro, to big. I want to see the big changes according to micro. But some I saw very good videos with people who are very much focused on micro. Very good at it. They're doing a great job. But I personally don't care if he used all his ammunition or if they destroyed, I don't know, this and that. I like big things. But hey, without the small things, you can't understand the big things. Next one. Where are we, baby doll? Okay, Hirnik captured. This is according to the Ukrainians. Hirnik captured. Selydove Council seized, monitoring group says. So if the Selydove Council seized, that means it fell. Let's go to this. So Selydove, it's right here, but I'm going to go to the other map, which shows it even better with Selydove. Right, Selydove is gone. This is gone, is conquered or liberated or taken over, however you want to call it. So remember, this is the Pokrovsk area in Donetsk People's Republic, or Donetsk, how you prefer. In the big scheme of things, it is in the center, in the middle of this war. So let's see the details. According to an updated maps of the front lines, the enemy also advanced in the village of Bohoyavlenka and Novoukrayinska, that's New Ukraine, as well, I'm guessing, as well as Shakhtarske and Novolekivka. So we have here the Ukrainian General Staff Lieutenant General Ihor Romanenko said that the Russian forces were cutting supply routes to Selydove and might force Ukrainian troops to withdraw. So they cut supply lines to Selydove. Selydove, as I said, is right here. Why? Because they are cutting right here and here. Selydove is not Russia's primary operational objective in this area, making Ukrainian defenses of the city a strategic move that likely forced Russians to deploy a sizable contingent of forces to the southern flank of Pokrovsk. The true and operationally significant target for Russian forces is in this part of the front. So the the goal is this little town of Bethlehem. All right, move on. Next one. Ukraine form. These are the Ukrainians. Russian forces cross canal and advance in Chasiv Yar. British intelligence. You gotta believe them because they told you about Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction and they were straight on it. Straight on it. I'm gonna show you where that is located. But first, let's read the article. Russian forces have made gains in fierce battles in the town of Chasiv Yar in eastern Ukraine, a breakthrough they had been unable to achieve since July. This information was reported by UK Ministry of Defense. According to British intelligence, Russian forces have likely crossed the canal in the southern part of Chasiv Yar and approached the outskirts of the Ukrainian-held city. All right, let's see where that is. I know this is north of right here. So this is Artemovsk, Bakhmut, if you remember, all that, taken by the, how do you call those, the Wagner group. This is Chasiv Yar. This is northeast of Pokrovsk. They are advancing over there as well. But don't worry, I'm going to show you a better map, which comes from these guys when they allow me to go like this. Where are you? Chasiv Yar. So here is what they show me about Chasiv Yar. And here it is, Chasiv Yar, and this is the canal in the south. They said they crossed it here, so they're advancing. Obviously, this is Bakhmut or Artemovsk. All right, let's go back to this. According to British intelligence, that's reported by Ukrainska Pravda. Again, Russian muster forces and advance heavily on Chasiv Yar. And they tell the same thing here. Next one, Russian forces thwart. When I read that word, I always think of something else. Starts with the same, but it doesn't have the R. Is that how it is? Russian forces thwart attempted cross-border assault from Ukraine, official says. Russian forces thwarted an attempt at another cross-border incursion by Ukraine into southwestern Russia. A local official reported Sunday, months after Kiev staged a bold assault on its nuclear-armed enemy, and Moscow is still struggling to hold. An armed group sought Sunday to breach the border between Ukraine and Russia's Bryansk region, the governor said, but was beaten back. Where is that Bryansk? That Bryansk is north of Kursk. So here is Kursk. This is the first incursion or how do you call it, invasion of Russia after the Second World War. And Bryansk is this right here. This is Belarus. This is Belarus in here. This is Ukraine, and this is Bryansk. So they tried a little bit northwest of Kursk. All right, next one. Putin is going to tell the baboons back the fuck off or else. And first question for you. Do you think that Putin, it doesn't mean that if you're an evil guy, you can't be strong. Because the stronger you are, the more evil you prove to be, right? More consequences, negative. So if you're a weak, evil guy, the consequences of your actions will be very limited. Therefore, you're going to be a little fella, evil fella. But if you're powerful, you're strong, that means your consequences, So it's kind of contradiction when you say this guy's a coward or weak, but his consequences killed this many millions. That means he had an impact more than you or I will ever had, seems like. So I'm not defending anybody, but do you think that Putin is a weakling? Like, let's say, Biden, Kamala Harris, and Scholz, and Saps, and these guys, Macron. Do you think he's a weakling? I personally don't think he's a weakling whatsoever. So I think that he is not... Yeah, sometimes you bluff, but I don't think he's bluffing here. I think he's going to be consistent, which is he's going to do what he told us he's going to do. Should we be afraid? No, but we should take that into consideration. Putin said Moscow will respond if West helps Ukraine to strike deep into Russia. He said this again during the BRICS summit. This is what the Americans said. We don't need to give them any more because remember the Russians said, this is what I'm going to do, don't do it. And these guys said, we're going to go to Ramstein, we're going to fuck you up. And then they canceled Ramstein. They said, well, and all gone. Nobody talks about the Ramstein. That means NATO said, okay, we are not going to do it. But guess what? We're going to do it differently. We're going to use it and we're going to use the same thing, but we're going to say, is the Ukrainian domestically built drones, they're going to hit deep inside Russia. It's not us. No, it's not us. 9. And when the Russians are going to say it was you, and they're going to follow their policy, then these guys are going to say, criminals right there. So now, if you remember that guy, what's his name? Austin Powell, that's how I call him, the guy in charge supposedly of our military, not just of America, if you believe that. I don't think he is, because if he would be, he would have an insurrection here and he's gonna ask for reparations overnight. But hey, it's not too late. All right. So what's going on here? So remember, Putin said he's gonna do this if you guys strike inside. So Mr. Austin said, General, my bad, I apologize. He said, Ukraine doesn't need our approval. As I said many times before, he came and said, why? Because they have their domestically built drones and they can hit. I don't believe that squat. I don't think without the American satellites, military satellites, and military guidance and missiles and all that, I don't think these attacks will be successful. So Putin tells us, we'll see what our guys, the guys supposedly in charge of us, will take out of it. All right, let's go to Elon Musk. And Elon Musk claims that he can save us $2 trillion. Well, it would be great, but at what cost? We'll all be living in cages? And I'm going to share with you a conversation I had with then friend of mine. Business Insider. Elon Musk took the stage at the Trump rally to talk about taxes and the Department of Government Efficiency. That's great. I like that. The problem is, you have to always show that you are needed. Because if you solve the problem, obviously you're not needed anymore. That means you lose your job. So you're going to start protecting your department. You protect your department against being homeless or jobless. So what's going to happen? They implement this. So they have to show each and every month, every day, these are the consequences of this Department of Efficiency. So how do you do that? But you exaggerate each and every time. And that's an example from Romania, the time when the Communist Party was in charge of the socialist Romania. And they were reporting the crop production, the wheat production, the corn production. And they had to lie all the time because they had to show to the guys in charge that, see, we're evolving, we're more efficient, we build this, and the Romanian economy, the production of wheat and, let's say, corn, was bigger than the production of the United States of America. So the lie was so big because it escalated, got bigger, because they couldn't say, well, this year is the same as last year. Fuck, you're fired. You're not fired, you're going to get another job, you're going to be demoted. So same here. These guys will have to increase their efficiency and they will fight with one another, like for instance in the state of Michigan, in the government here. I worked over there. I know how things are. You have some baboons over there in the head office, and that's the way they do. How do they promote themselves? By showing that they saved money for the government. And how do they do that? Make one guy works for 5 guys. Why? They're going to fire the 5 guys and going to have one person work for them. And then another guy who wants to promote and put that in his resume, he's going to get, I came with a program, with a policy here that's going to have one guy work for 10 guys. And again, one guy is going to be dying, but it's okay, we're going to bring another baboon to work for us. And this guy's going to put in his resume what he did, and then he's going to go in an interview and he's going to get a bigger job, better job. That's how it works. And then who's going to be fucked? You and I, if you work for the government. The same here. These guys are going to make this efficiency department, and those guys will have to, prove their worthless or worthless. Prove every month. They can't say, like the politicians, if they would solve all the problems, we won't need them over there. That's why they create problems and they come to solve it, like the border crisis, or how we want to call it. Who creates that? Whoever lets them in. Not the guys that try to come in. I want to go in many places, but I can't because the door is locked. And if I break in, someone is going to say, get the fuck out or I shoot. And I say, okay, see you never. But no, so it's the decision coming from these guys. And then they come 5 days before the election and say, we're going to solve the immigration border, or 2 months, If you don't see this, those guys need a bitch slap, to say the least. I'm talking about intellectual. All right, so let's see the other article, which comes from Sputnik and tells us what he means. Sputnik. Musk vows to cut the US budget spending by 2 trillion if Trump wins. 2 trillion. What is 2 trillion? So 1 trillion is 1,000 billion. So that's $2,000 billion. He's going to cut it in what? In 1 day, in a week, and then after that, what is he going to do? He's going to have to cut more and more. Let me tell you, on top of the example I gave you with the state of Michigan employment job over there, the same thing. They have to prove they are efficient. They're doing good. Am I doing right? Yeah, but these guys are just dying and they don't have a life and they have a shitty life. They're on pills, and I know that for a fact. I know that. In the investigative job I had with my fellow investigators, I can claim to you, the ones that I knew that close, not that close, but that close, how many were taken Adderall. Go and check out what Adderall is. In order to make it in the job. Not because the job was so demanding and oh my God, not because of that, but they gave too much work, and you can't take it. So they took Adderall and they were working like this. Like the Nazis in the Second World War, right? We're told. But we never used anything, no amphetamines or anything. No, we're just the good people, the perfect people. Jesus Christ. So let me give you the other story. I had this friend of mine, and I told this story, I think, on 2 more occasions here. So he's from Canada, he is Romanian. He's living in Canada. I live in the United States of America, greatest country in the world. And I bought my first house. I was in the process of buying my first house. Until you pay it off, you didn't buy your house. You're in the process of buying it. I mean, don't make a few payments and figure out who owns the house. Actually, the bank. All right. So I was very happy. Bought a new house, beautiful neighborhood. Everything was great. I was happy. And he came. He was visiting. I was visiting. And he lived in an apartment in Canada. I lived in an apartment in the United States of America before. Obviously, I had no problem because in Romania I lived in an apartment. Most people live in apartments. Well, maybe not most, but people from Romania, they know what I'm talking about. So blocuri. So he came and visited, and he told me that by his calculation, I pay too much here on taxes, and I lose money that I have a house. But they, on the other hand, they're saving money, efficiency, because they live in an apartment. So they don't spend money for taxes. Maybe some bills for water is already included in the monthly rent, and so on. So he was telling me I made a bad decision, and he's doing better, and he's more efficient than I am. And my answer was, yeah, but I want to live like that. I plan on having children. I want my children to be, that's why I came to the United States of America. One of the 3 reasons. I want my children to have a better life. I don't want to live in, and I said, you know what? You could be more efficient, and this sounds for that efficient department. You can be more efficient, but you can save more money than I or you right now if you would move in a tent. You make more money, you can save more money. Live in a tent with your wife. They don't have children. With your wife, stay over there. And you're going to save more money than you right now. The point is, how do you want to live? What kind of comfort you want to have? What kind of life you want to have? You want to be ass in the nose and nose in ass with everybody in one room apartment? You can do that for a while. But is that your goal? You like it? Good, it's fine with me. But I don't want to live like that. I have other different standards, other preferences. So the same here with Musk. Musk is going to do this, but if that entails, is that how we call it, or the consequences will be, I will pay more money for this or more money or no services over there or no services over there. I'm talking about services that the government should provide, like, driver's license, if they ask me for one, don't go over there and you have to do it yourself. Everything is going to be dropped on you. Like you go, for instance, nowadays to the doctor, let's say, and you go over there and you have to do their job. The nurses or whoever, not nurses, the upfront lady over there, she gives you a big thing. You have to spend 15 minutes. Blah, 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 blah. Did you have AIDS? Yes, I had. I don't have any more, I think. Things like this. And you have to do this something that before you stay in front of whatever she was, and she was asking you questions. She was touching you. Now you do it for them. And it's not the only one. Pre-registration, that's how it's fucking called. So that means they use you for nothing. So instead of them, you paying their employees more, No, they were dropped and have more employees, they have less employees, and I have to spend my life unpaid to do their job. If that's what Musk has in mind of. But I know that's a lot of hanky-panky in the government. I know it's a lot of drainage of money. Why? You know why? Because they don't make the money. If it's not your business, it's not going to affect you directly. It's not your money. Therefore, a lot of people over there are very generous. I can tell you that for a fact. I've been in some meetings, I felt like throwing up, and I was the only one that I showed, and I spoke up. I said, what's going on here? That's the policy. That's the policy. They were generous towards some. I'm going to give you that story some other time. Generous by taking other people's money, taxes. So they will have a budget and they will use it for unfair distribution of taxation, taxed money. So I'm okay with that as long as that is not going to get me in caves. Let me show you this. So this is the article I was talking about, the Queen of England and the corsairs, the pirates. Ukrainian criminal network takes vengeance on Putin's people. So this is and I'm not supporting this. This is why do I have to say that? For YouTube, not because I'm like that. No, but I have to say it. I don't care. This happens, all sides. But they hail it, saying that the Ukrainian criminal networks, those guys, interesting people. Some people get wet for those. That was my point when I looked for the name of the person who wrote this article. So they tell us that Ukrainians are scamming Russians out of their life savings in an underground operation that steals money from Moscow's citizens and donates it directly to Kiev's military. So the same thing. And here is Putin's people. They are Putin's people. He owns them. It is such a garbage article. So they are just going and saying like this. In the call centers throughout Ukraine, the operation known as The Office equips workers, they're workers, not criminals, with a headset, computer program, and a phone numbers of Russians. Who gets the phone numbers? The office is known to be operated by Ukrainian organized crime groups and is part of a global scam that exists in countries like India and the Philippines, as well as inside Russia. In the United States, that's zero like that. Zero. So here you have, until February 24, 2022, in Ukraine, the office focused its scams on targets in Western countries like the US, as well as various European Union-based companies. In the aftermath of the Russian invasion, it shifted all of its work onto Russian civilians. The fraud begins with a victim receiving a call purposely from a phone company seeking a payment. So this is what these guys are saying. Before they will do some hanky-panky, they're washing their sins, basically, like the Queen of England, where these guys, and then she would knight them for stealing some stolen gold. So they were thieves. But hey, I'm a bigger thief than you, so, all right? So these guys, Putin's people. And my point here was, do you think that, let's say tomorrow, Russia will be done? What do you think is going to happen next with those criminal organizations? Going to go to what they do best, towards you and I. And if you think they're not Russian savings, do you know how much money the Russians have? Some have, but it's easier here. But here you have. So now these criminals are good. Now let me tell you about the rape thing and the pirates. There's a video I made a while ago, and you can still find Dr. Jordan Peterson, one time in one of his videos, when he was still at the University of Toronto. I think he's University of Toronto. He was teaching over there. In one of his videos, he talked about what excites women. There was a study made by the poll done, and by what excites women get more wet for. And there were three. In the top three were the doctors or the uniforms. The doctors or the policemen. They love that. Okay. Second one was the werewolf. And the third one was the pirates. All right. So the criminals. I know many instances where certain women are very, very, sexually aroused by the criminals, by the gangs, by the mafia, by this. All right, well, you can deal with whatever they have in their heads, Hollywood and so on. So in this case, I started reading this, and I said, wait a minute, let me see. I bet is a woman who wrote this article. And by my smile, obviously it was. And her name is Anna Conkling. Clunk, clunk, clink, clink, clink. Anna, king, king. So here it is. I just shared this with you. I thought it was funny. But yeah, if they're our criminals, if they're criminals, are you a just person or you're not a just person? Well, certain things, Emil, are more important than others. I know there are some priorities, but if those priorities, I can pick my priorities, so can they. And then what they're going to do? Let's go to the last article. The Telegraph. Iran left reeling from Netanyahu's calculated revenge mission. I got this one only for the title. This is the Telegraph. Just slavish reporting. Iran left reeling. So it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? From Netanyahu's calculated, yeah. Here's the man. Revenge. So she didn't throw the first or didn't cast the first rock. No, it's a revenge. The Iranians came and in self-defense, they did it in a calculated way. And Iran is all, my pussy hurts. This is your fucking media. And remember when I was in Romania, the Telegraph, the Romanians were picked up. The Telegraph said this, according to Telegraph. And everybody was like, ooh, those Brits, man, those are geniuses. And when I started reading them daily nowadays, with this kind of things, well, what a joke, what a vomit shit show, clown show. So here is, my friends, Iran is shitless scared right now because Netanyahu calculated they didn't hit anything, just the right targets, and don't mess with Uncle Joe, baby doll. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.